It's a story we've been fascinated with since Election Day. George Santos and his campaign of deceit. From false claims about his finances, religion, and even his education, we've heard an array of proven lies from the Long Island congressman who has yet to accept any consequences for his actions. After months of reporting, the big question no one can answer yet is, who is George Santos?
George Santos, to me, is a bunch of lies.
That's a really good question, and I don't think anybody really knows. I grew up in what's now Santos's district. I don't think anybody of his close to 1 million constituents can actually answer that question.
CBS News Reports is debuting a new documentary that tries to untangle the web of lies. And joining us now from CBS Reports is producer and reporter Erica Brown. Erica, thank you for being here, and what a job on your part and your whole team. I have to ask you, there was a lot of steps along the way with George Santos, but what piqued your interest? When did you guys say, hey, we just got to investigate this guy?
Well, Dick, we had been covering this from the beginning in December when we learned that there were many details from Congressman Santos's background that had been fabricated, from his work background, from his education background to his heritage. And once we started to pull on those threads and we learned that there was more to these fabrications, more than just his work and education, the investigative unit decided that we wanted to spend some time digging into his background, learning more about who this person was behind the headlines. Though we were still following those headlines, we wanted to learn more, and the best way for us to do that would be to sit down and talk to those people who have interacted with him and who had known him dating back to middle school to help give us some perspective and insight on this character, the persona, and what drove him to run for Congress, and ultimately how he was able to secure one of those coveted 435 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. And so, dating from December, when we first learned that there were fabricated details of his background, we just pulled on those threads, and as a unit decided we wanted to dig further to learn more about who this person was.
Yeah, and a lot of threads to pull on. And as you mentioned, one of the people you spoke with was a woman who knew Santos back in middle school, and she was able to give some context to his childhood. Let's play a clip and listen.
It's crazy to me now thinking back because, I mean, he's had these characteristics from so young. He was trying to be accepted and fit in, and I think he always felt like an outcast. He started these lies, and I think it just continued.
Now, Erica, if we play the game, can you top this with George Santos? You never know what the biggest lie is, but I have to ask you, what is the most shocking falsehood you uncover in the documentary?
Well, honestly, Dick, there are so many fabrications. It makes it very difficult to just select one. But I will say we didn't ignore those headlines. We also revisited them. When he talked about going to Baruch College, we were able to debunk that. When he talked about attending the prestigious Horace Mann Preparatory School in the Bronx, we were able to confirm that he didn't do that. We were able to confirm with Citigroup and with Goldman Sachs that he was never employed there. He also, going back to Baruch, did not play for their volleyball team. But also in speaking with people who knew him, we learned more things that we hadn't heard before about his character. So with Tiffany, she mentioned that she knew him as in middle school. We learned that he had had some trouble fitting in. We learned that he was bullied, and according to her, he lied as a mechanism for him to fit in. This was a way for him to, as an outsider, her words, as an outsider, this was a way for him to make friends and to kind of build a sense of community. And she said that this person that she knew in middle school was akin to the person that she sees now in the headlines walking the halls of Congress, someone who is lying to fit in. So I think one of the most interesting things that we learned in the documentary, not so much the fabrications, but details into who he was. And we even go to Brazil and we speak to a woman who knew him when he was younger, who knew his mother, and said that he was a boy full of dreams, who wanted to provide for his mother and sister. He was smart, he was ambitious, and the person that she sees now scares her, in her words. She says it's someone that will do anything for power, someone who is just willing to trample over anyone to get what he wants. And so I think what was fascinating about this was just learning more behind what we see in those headlines.
Unbelievable. And you know, the real frustration, we've seen it with protests in Queens, out at the Douglaston office, and we've seen it out in Nassau County. Is the frustration of his constituents who voted for this guy, and essentially they feel they were sold a bill of goods. I guess people who are going to watch this documentary, I want to get to know, are you going to get under that? Are they going to get behind that? Do you achieve the goal of really telling them the answers to these questions?
I mean, I think that we tell them who he's not, which is the person that they voted for. And so we were in Washington earlier this week when constituents bussed from District 3 to Washington to petition for his expulsion. And they said, look, we've tried emailing him, we've tried calling him, we're here, he won't speak with us, he won't address us, he's not a representative. And so that frustration from his constituents, both Democrat and Republican, I might add, is palpable because there is quite literally nothing they can do but protest. The Republican leadership has advocated for the House Ethics Committee to do its job when the time comes in investigating the congressman, but there isn't anything that would necessarily force him out. So the constituents at this point are losing the most. They have someone that they voted for who is not the person that he turned out to be, that is actively representing them in Congress right now.
And so hopefully tonight, Erica, you will give at least the constituents some idea of who is George Santos, right?
That's right, and I think the question remains unanswered fully, but we do our best to answer that by speaking to people who knew him well at various stages in his life.
Erica Brown, great job, and we are really looking forward to this. I got to see a piece of it. It is fascinating stuff, and I know the viewers, his constituents, and people all around the tri-state area are going to want to see this. Erica Brown, great work. Thanks again. And you can watch Campaign of Deceit, the election of George Santos, tonight at 6:30 right here on CBS News New York. Just download the free CBS News app or watch it on Pluto TV.